Hello everyone, this is Peter and I am your instructor for Agile Project Management course module 2. And today in this module we are going to cover one topic that is burn down chart. And the learning that is associated with this burn down chart is huge. And why it is important? Because these burned on chart act as information radiator, which radiate information that what exactly happening with the team and how they are burning their story point so that they are visibly available or visibly visible to everyone. And by the end of this session, you all would be in a position to understand the chart, how we create the chart manually or with the help of a tool. And once you are well versed in understanding of these charts, specifically Scrum Master, it is going to help them to govern the overall process or to understand the overall governing of the team, and they can understand that how the development is being done within the team and how the progress can be maintained. So let's get going. Burn down chart. And if we define the burn down charts, the simple definition of burn down chart is the burn down charts display the remaining effort for a given period of time. Which means when we say effort, we can define that effort can be in terms of hours, effort can be in terms of story point, effort can be anything which teams have taken as a measurement unit to burn the story. And period of time, yes, a number of days or maybe a number of days in a sprint. So what the chart is displaying is the effort remaining for a given period of time. And why we want to understand that what are the effort that were remaining, because the remaining effort give us the visibility that how much time and effort are required to complete a particular project. So in fact, if we say the burn down chart is a common and a useful tool, usually used in the stand-up meeting. I would prefer not generally in the stand-up meeting, but in most of the cases, to access how much work has been completed on an assignment, and we can call it as a forecasting tool instead even, and it gives us a rough idea that how we are doing in the current sprint. The simple visually appealing format is used by the agile practitioner because it can be easily understood by all the team members. And burn-down chart are used to measure how much work has been completed on a project during a specific time frame, and then compared to the amount of time still available to complete the project. And they outline the amount of work planned versus what is performed during each iteration. So there are different ways to create those burn down chart, and on the basis of that we have different ways of understanding how what these chart uh, display us, or these charts convey the information. And the chart are highly useful tool used to monitor completed work and work that still needs to be done during the designated time frame. However, as useful as they are, burn down charts have their limitation. They cannot, for example, clearly or effectively measure work that is still in the progress, and they only measure what already has been completed. But if uh, if we go to a standard definition of, we also call these chart as a burn down charts as a information radiator, and and we are going to cover a separate topic for information radiator, but just for the sake of understanding in this session, we can say that information radiator is an umbrella term for a number of highly visible ways to display the information, including the large chart, graphs, and so summarize of the project data. And these tools also sometimes referred to as the visual control, quickly inform stakeholder about the project status, and they are usually displayed in a high traffic areas to maximize the exposure. And the term information radiator was developed by this person is called Alistair Coburn, in contrast to the practice of locking project information away in the information refrigerator, where nobody knows what is going on. Instead, information radiator are highly visible chart or the graph to convey or radiate information from the project quickly to anyone who is interested. So I have taken this definition of information radiator from the Mike Griffith book, that is for the PMI ACP exam preparation. But I just quickly wanted to cover this definition of information radiated, so that we can understand that what does burn down chart mean when we say that they are the information radiator. So why these burn down chart convey information to us, because these information chart are pasted on the wall of the scrum area. When we say scrum area, it means near the area where scrum team sits, and these burn down chart give us the visibility that what amount of work has been done, and what amount of work is pending and remaining, I would say. So if we go further, uh, we can say that when we track the product development using the burn down chart, team can use the sprint burn down chart and the release burn down chart. I'm going to cover burn down charts and release burn down chart in a different section, and but in this section I'm going to cover just the sprint burn down chart. So let's try to find a few of the pros and cons on the burn down chart. But before that, let's try to understand how many burn down chart are there, how we prepare the burn down chart, and what kind of information that burn down chart can display to us. Okay, so let's go back to our sketch pad, and we're going to cover burn down chart, right? So let's see what happened. Generally, what what we when we prepare a burn down chart in x-axis, we display the working days, and in y-axis we display the remaining effort. So any chart which we prepared, these x-axis and the y-axis will display the working days and the remaining effort. And here there are two progress lines that generally come. So one is this is say suppose ideal, and this is say suppose real. So ideal means that if say suppose you have 300 hours to be burned, and that need to be burned in say suppose 10 days, then this is the ideal line. If if we are burning these hours with a specific number of hours in a day. So the ideal line says that the burn down should happen in this manner, but because the actual or the real, you can say, is a little bit different, so it might happen in this way. And we will see that what does these graphs mean when we are going to prepare uh, these actual graphs in our project area. So sometimes we also use different attribute in the y-axis, and all of them have different benefit and we can say and drawback for it. So let's try to understand in take one by one chart so that we can see what are the benefits, what are the pros, and what are the cons, and how we are using this. Say suppose some team use, I like said यहाँ पे hours, but some team use item and some team use days. And say suppose this is the idle line which need to be burned as per the capacity of the team. So now say suppose some team try to plot this graph in this way, right? So what is happening here is, say suppose here X number of stories are burned or completed, and here X number of stories are completed. For what example says here is that, say suppose a team have delivered 2 stories from here to here, and here team have delivered 1 story. Here team have also delivered 1 story. So sometimes it is a big mistake that they allow to continue with this approach. So generally this approach is not right. And the reason is simple: the stories are required different effort to be completed. So the first completed story can be 2 times bigger than the second one, but the chart does not explain the real attrition status, because it says that it is going out of uh, the limit of the team, and but it might be a possibility that the story take much time than the story. So the idle burn down graph is not portraying here. So generally this graph is not used where we are using items on the x-axis and days on the items on the y-axis and days on the uh, x-axis. If if we go further, there is another chart which can be, so this is hours and this is days. So this is the actual line, and say suppose this is one the action, right? So this is the actual one, and this one is the real one. This one is suppose idle. So now what we are tracking here is that how many hours has been burned with, say suppose there are 10 days in a sprint. Okay, so what we are tracking here, that how many hours have been burned by the team in a one particular day. So the benefit of this displaying time is that it is provide more granular view of the progress, but it leads to the micromanagement as well. So it is typically suggested for a new agile team, and teams are often asked to carefully track time spent and remaining hours. But all those who ask their team to do so understand that the team is hired to develop a real product, not to spend amount of time. Therefore, most agile team tracking the remaining size of the product. So that is the reason the 2 graphs which we have studied, we generally don't prefer to have these burn down chart in our Scrum sprint burn down. But what now we are going to do is we are going to track our remaining size of the work um, to display the stories. So what all kind of graph that we can prepare on the basis of story points. So suppose here we have story point. Just If you have not gone through the story point video, then or session, then you should go through it to understand what story point are. But here I'm just taking it as a story point, and this is time. So this is the idle trends, suppose. And now we are looking at how stories are being burned. So there's a kind of stairs because story completed when all the tasks that are related to a particular story are completed. So at this point of time, one story is burned. This time of time, another story is born, and this time of time there is another story born. And this time here to here indicate that uh, the team seem to be the team is idle, but it is not idle because a story may be divided into multiple tasks, and here we are completing the tasks that are associated with the story. But because we are taken measurement unit here is the story point, so we cannot display the time that is associated with the task, and which is R. So story are particularly bigger item than the task, and stories are also considered as done only when all the tasks are completed, and this lead to stairs in the burn down chart. And such stairs are usually not evaluated correctly, and especially management read them as no progress, while they mean effort continues. It has not been completed yet. So step could be smaller if stories are broken down in an appropriate way. More experienced team work with stories level of what, not how, that are enough for a daily synchronization. So it is less comprehensive but efficient, and it allows to have shorter daily meeting that are more focused on what we solve, what remains, right? So here, because say suppose team have committed 40 story point, so what is happening here is that with every day the story point are burning, and team is burning some story point with respect to time, and they are decreasing. So ideally what is happening here, that today these are the 40 story point, say suppose 40 will remain here, they will burn suppose the 10 at a time. So now they have burned, sorry, so now they have burned some hours here from here to here, and they support 10 story point. So when we're burning 10 story point, the work remaining is shown in this way, that now work remaining is this one, now work remaining is this one, and similarly it will decrease over the period of time. So with the help of these graph, we can say that how much work is remaining with the team. So that will help the team to plan their sprint in such a manner that whether all the stories are going to complete or they are going to left with few stories. So the simplicity of the chart does not help if process gaps need to be identified. So in this case, two lines are not enough, as they are simple display the summary of the work for all the team members, and the gap need to be identified on the task board. So usually it is unclear if the team is too late or somebody added additional functionality, especially in the case um, that is equal amount of work has been completed. Um, there will be no progress indicated, right? So what will happen is that, say suppose one story is being added in this print and one story is completed. So what will happen, because one, say suppose this is 5 pointer and this is 5 pointer, so if we add one story and if we remove one story, the overall effect will not be visible. So what will happen is that if you look at this graph, it will come like this, because here we have added one story and it seems like we are not burning anything. So in this situation, in this situation, the total size of the sprint backlog should be helpful. Any change in the total size will provide the explanation that why it is happening. So what you need to do here is, maybe if you're creating it manually, because what happens is that if you're not maintaining it manually, then it becomes difficult. So this is the scope of the work. So when the work is added here, it will look like here, because you have added 5 story point of work, and here the net effect where +5 and -5 is there, so it is 0, which is shown as a straight line, which means that no work is being done. But actually this will tell us that there is a change in the scope, because the overall point will increase. So two lines will help us. One is this, which for scope, and one is this, one is this, which is for work burn down, for work remaining. So if we have these two lines, we can portray some level of understanding that what is happening with the team. So it might be it also might be helpful if you want to display the impediment on the chart as well. And I think that impediment are the pain that should be visible. So having them on a burn down chart is a good way to combine them with the progress, giving the sprint overview. So what I'm saying here is that when you are standing in the daily stand-up meeting and you're portraying this graph, and this graph is like this, then there is one way that you can say that this is the time when there is impediment that is identified, and this is the time when this impediment A resolved. Similarly, some impediment here, that is B, and you can say B resolved. So this graph, if you're preparing it manually, can also describe the position of the impediment, which is helpful. Why? Because it give us an indication that how many impediment team have faced during the burning of the sprint, and if there is any change in the actual trend, we can understand that this trend might be because of the impediment which team have faced during the burn down. So let's see what else the burn down can tell us, right? So how will you define that it is a good progress or a bad progress? Say suppose this is the idle trend, and if team is also remained here with this trend, this shows that this team is the idle team. So but be cautious that sometime team get very habitual in creating the graph, and they can manipulate the tool as well. So be very sure, specifically Scrum Master, that they are finding a way to understand that these graphs are not made just to tally the graph and the numbers, but this is the actual progress of the team. So this is, if team is working like this in the graph like this, so this is a great team, and they were able to organize themselves, and it indicates a great product owner who understand the reason for the locked sprint backlog, and a great Scrum Master which helping the team to burn the chart. So this also means the team is not overcommitting and just finishing the sprint backlog on the time, and the team is also able to estimate capacity correctly. So no corrective action is necessary in this case. So this is team number one. So let's create some space here so that we can draw all the graph together. This is one in which this and this, right? What we are calling it as idle team. So there are great team as well, which is so sorry, something like this. So such progress might be observed on the chart for experienced team. The team has committed the work on time and met the sprint goal. So which is clearly showing the team started on the very first day and team have finished the work. They have finished the goal. They also have applied the principle of getting things done. But the most important is that they have adapted the scope of the sprint backlog to complete the sprint. So there is little increase in the scope and they have adapted to the scope. Even then they have maintained a good gap in the stories, and at the end there is less work than expected, and even then they have completed the work. So in retrospective, team should discuss the reason for the late progress in the first half of the sprint, which is this one, and the good progress in the second half. And they can also see that what they did with the capacity, which is left somewhere here because they have little less work than expected here and little more here. So this is also a great team because they're also making sure that all the things are done on time, right? So there are few more teams, which is this one. Sorry. So this may be another graph. What does it mean? It means that this is a little nice theme, though there is a bit scope increase, but still team is able to complete the work. So the charts say again that the team was able to complete their commitment on time. They adapt the scope or the work harder to complete the sprint, and team is self-reflecting because they are looking at their own progress, and then they are identifying that there is a gap or that the gap may exist because of many reasons, but still they are able to complete the overall stories in the sprint. Sorry. So the team should discuss change of the plan immediately as they see the progress has been slowing down from the beginning of the sprint. Typically, it is suggested to move a low priority item from the sprint backlog to the next sprint or back to the product backlog. Why? Because if product owner is adding some stories here, say suppose two or three story points, say suppose. So so what we can do is from the backlog, from the sprint backlog, team can reduce the work of three story point. So say suppose it is like this, and their total 40 story point team have taken, and there is 5 point extra work is coming, and we are adding it somewhere. So we can do is we can remove some work from here. So when we do that, we would be able to um, compensate the stories that has been done in the sprint, and team would be in a situation to not get into this situation where there is an increase in the work. So what will happen in that case, that might be when there's few story added, there's a dip in the graph and it will come like this. Why? Because we have removed few story from the print backlog. So this is another way of displaying the chart. So now let's see what are the other factors involved. So if this is the idle trend, and if come like this, and so sorry, uh, if come like this, so the actual scenario comes as this and done, which means that this is too late for the team to complete the stories. So team really need to reflect on the day of retrospection, that what happened, that you have not completed your commitment. So team has been late in the entire sprint. The team did not adapt to the sprint scope to appropriate level, and it shows that the team has not completed story that should have been split or moved to the next sprint. So in such a situation, the capacity of the next sprint should be lowered. And if this happen again, corrective action should be taken after a few days when slower progress is observed. Typically, lower priority stories should have moved to the next sprint or back to the product backlog. So so if takes team is taking much time, so like we said in this graph, we cannot understand the scope creep. So here also we can say that team is taking more than expected time to complete the thing, or something is slowing them down. And what is that something, we cannot identify from the burn down chart. For that we need another kind of chart, which is burn up chart. But like I said, you can have here a scope creep uh, line, another line, which generally not recommended in the burn down chart. It have to be in a burn up chart. That will see why it should be in a burn down chart. But in this case, team is not doing the burn down chart in a good manner. There are four type of chart. Let's see few of others. Um, so now say suppose these, and this is the actual, and this is actual, this is real. So what is happening here, that team is too early to finish the work. So the team finishes its work sooner than expected. The stories were implemented, but the team didn't work on additional stories, even it had the capacity to do it. And the stories are probably overestimated because the team finishing them earlier. Also, the velocity of the team has not been properly estimated correctly. So the Scrum Master must have some proactive in their in either getting the team to flex estimation or ensure additional stories are ready to be added within the sprint. So if this situation is happening, say suppose till here, and this is the fifth day of the sprint, and we have total 10 days in a sprint. Here Scrum Master have the possibility that they can check with the team what is the reason why there is a lot of lag in the there is lead in the basically number of hours to burn for a particular story. So here team can get in touch with the PO to get more stories into the system, right? So if we go further and try to see, so this is this, um, and again I have, so this is idle trend, and in this case team have burned their stories, but in this case this is how it has happened. So the team which such progress have a problem now. So the problem is either the team committed to less than what they are able to complete, or the product owner does not provide any story for the sprint. And the reason might be also an overestimation of complexity, which ends up in the completion earlier than expected at the beginning of the sprint. And the Scrum Master should identify the problem earlier and ask the product owner to provide the team with more work. So even if stories are overestimated, the team should at least continue to the stories from the next already pre-planned sprint. So this is not an idle craft, but if this is happening, so you can see that team have overestimated the stories, but when actually they are working on the task, it is taking less than the expected time. So this is uh, how these two different tasks chart give two different information. One is that it is uh, ending before the time, and in this case, though they are ending it on the time, but there is something that lag have happened, or initially there is a lot of lag, but slowly the complex stories comes in and the lag will get completed. So there are a lot of other possibilities as well. So this is another chart, that this is the actual scenario, and this is the real one, and this is the ideal one. What does it mean? That team is not burning anything here, and there are multiple possibilities actually here. So one is that team is probably doing some work, but maybe it does not update in the progress accordingly. So another reason might be that the product owner have added the same amount of work that already been completed, and therefore the line is straight. So there are multiple ways. The team is not able to predict the end of the sprint and even to provide the status of the current sprint. So the Scrum Master should improve it, Scrum masterpiece, and coach the team on why it is necessary to track the progress and how to track it. So if and even when you start with the transformation, you will see that this is the very common graph which you will see at the very early stage of the sprint. If team is not adhering to the Scrum processes and they are not burning the story point, so such team should be stopped after 2 or 3 days. That shows the flat or a line of progress, and should immediately apply the corrective action. So this is another uh, ways of doing the things in a right manner. So let's suppose there is another way of understanding this graph, is that this is the actual and this is the real one. So what does it mean? That here team found that they are not burning the R, and immediately they have burned the R. But here they even not try to burn the R, and it is a straight line. So this is a non-functional on many levels. This team is non-functional in many levels. The Scrum Master of this team is not able to coach the team why it is necessary to track the progress on the daily basis. The product owner does not care about development progress either. To fix this situation, the team should restart from the scratch by training and to do a retrospective uh, to figure out why this is happening. So and and if we go further, there are a number of possibilities of this chart, and I really love to discuss this chart because they are like a thermometer of your team. So whenever you need to find that what is happening with the team, what is right and what is wrong, go and try to see the chart. So say suppose this is another graph in which team have not, the graph is not showing anything to us. What does it mean? It means that team have not estimated the story. Okay, so which means that um, uh, during the sprint planning meeting, that though there might be discussion with the product owner and the team, but team at the end of the sprint planning meeting have not updated their hours on the task board, and that is the reason there is no line that is appearing. To fix this situation, team should immediately arrange a planning meeting, estimate the user stories, and include them in the sprint according to the velocity, and start the sprint. So this requires immediate action. And when you have started working with the team, uh, like the previous graph which I told, in which uh, team is not actually burning anything, and the Scrum Master need to pitch in. Similarly, Scrum Master also need to pitch in here, and immediately ask the team to get the work done on the chart. So there is another graph which is like come here and then going up. So the first sprint actually typically look like that. And it is a good source of knowledge because the team has failed significantly and it is highly visible. So stories or the tasks were added to the sprint backlog every day without any progress recorded. Another reason might be that the tasks were re-estimated constantly during the sprint. And the mistake is that the team did not identify the problem that the chart display, and the sprint backlog should be re-evaluated and rearranged immediately. The coach might be helpful as an experienced Scrum Master, and the product owner should facilitate this situation. And if what happened is that when this one graph having started getting visible for my team when I'm working as a Scrum Master for them. So what I did is I started a daily sprint with them just for few days because team is not able to adhere to the sprint guideline. So what I did is that they have to plan daily and they have to burn daily. So when for one sprint they task daily for 10 days and they burned daily, then they get some progress. And after that we have started working with those teams, and after that once they understood that what they are doing wrong, they are not estimating the story in the right manner, they actually started improving on it and started showing a typical graph that is required. So there is might be another graph which says like this is the idle trend, and it's come like this somewhere. So the team have not started correctly because here nothing have happened. Then they have added something here to stories, and then they immediately burn those stories. So so what they, no, they have missed the planning, yes, and they were very late to add the store add the work hour on the tool, and the team should be careful about the capacity estimation and planning happen in the middle of the sprint and not before it. So in such a case, it is suggested to restart the sprint even when the shorter time frame. So so be very careful while trying to understand the the type of graph which we have discussed. And if you found any alarming stage in 1 or 2 or third or 4 days of the sprint, you should raise it to the team and as the Scrum Master, and and as a product owner you will look at it and you will find that okay, something is not right, and you need to work with the team again because team is going to miss the sprint and we are not going to get the product increment at the end of the sprint. So, so bundle chart describe in these section and iteration, but what does a nice burden chart indicate a great team? Maybe if your team indicate that great progress for more than one iteration, does the team believe in such successes? So I would be personally very careful when I work with a team to go back and see to the Scrum area whether they are updating the chart on daily basis or not. And if they are working on the tool, I will just go and check the tool every day so that I can gauge that whether the work is being done nicely or not. So these are the few things that can be used to track the burn down of the team. And if you want to see few of the template, we can see few of the template to understand um, the the working of the thing. So if you want to create this chart on a Excel, so what you can do here is that you can I have just created some sample here which says that on day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and this is the ideal trend. So ideal trend is 300 and 250, which how we come to 300. Say suppose 5 developer are working in a sprint and they are considering IEH, that is ideal engineering R, as 6, and total days in a sprint is 10. So which means a team is having equal to this into IH into this, which means 300 hours. So I'm not taking into consideration here the capacity planning. You can consider it like this, that there are maybe IH 7 hours, but you detect 50 hours for the planning, grooming, and other ceremony that being happening within the sprint. So your capacity there, that 50 hours goes there. So you left with this minus this, that is 300 hours. So now the ideal scenario which says that because your team member is having around 30 hours of burn, it actually should be, but for the sake of understanding, I have taken 50 hours here. By 30 hours, because uh, around 75 hours you're going to burn daily, that is this into this. So I have taken, for the sake of clarity, I have taken it 30 hours here. So please consider it for the sake of understanding. So what is happening here? If you want to create the your hours in Excel, a simple burn down chart in Excel, you want to understand that how many hours team is burning daily. You can go to the chart and you can create this chart. So this is quite simple. So this will come like this. So your ideal chart and your this is the ideal one which we have seen, and this is the actual one. So if I say here that actual is bit changing, and if you want to see daily that you have burned, say suppose 20 hours only, uh, sorry, if you have burned 20 hours, which means 280 hours will come, right? So here we will come to 250. Here we will come to 200, right? And here we come to say suppose 50. So now see, you can see that how this graph is changing, and on the basis of this you can decide that what is the actual and what is the ideal scenario, what is happening with your team. So keep on updating it on the actual and define the ideal based on the number of days in the sprint, number of people who are working, and what is the IA, that the ideal engineering hours you have decided for your team. So this is a basic simple chart that can be prepared on the remaining work. But to calculate the remaining work, you can have another graph here, which will help you to understand. I have taken this from Agile Nutshell, probably. I don't remember that, but they have made a good template out of it, and this template can be used. So what is saying here, they are creating a template for the entire release burn down chart, and what they're doing is there is sprint one. Say suppose story, there are 3 stories. Each story is having an estimate of 3, 1, 3, and 5, and the total estimate is here 9, right? So similarly, 4, 5, 6 story estimation is 13, 6, 7, 8, 9 estimation is 11, 10, 11, 12, and estimation is 11, and so on. So on the basis of this, that the total number of stories and total number of story point here. So what is happening? Total number of story point is 53. Why? Because the sum of these is 53 plus this one as well, 5, 3, 8, and 9. Right? So, so this is 53. Okay. So, right. So 53 completed 53, remaining 0, percentage 10. average velocity, let's not take into consideration. Now go to sprint data. So what the sprint data is saying that on 4th of April, total effort required is 53. This is the first sprint. Velocity of the team is 9 because they have burned 9 story point. The remaining is 45 because they have burned 9. Now remaining is 44 and the completed is 9. Now go here, team total effort is 53, that will remain constant. Velocity is 13 and remaining is 31. Um, and completed is 22. Now the velocity suddenly increased here in the second sprint. So you can see what is the percentage completion and how it is calculating based on the value. If you go to the formula, you can easily find out that how it is calculating. But the important thing is here where you can say the remaining is completed 9, remaining is 14. So over the period of time, what is happening here, the completed story point is getting burned and the remaining is slowing down. So this is give you the overall picture of the burn down chart in this manner. It's a bar graph, but you can see to this line where you can say that how burn down is happening for a release, and this is a simple velocity chart. Or you can also go. This is another template which is quite simple, which are not started, not in progress, and which are the story that are completed. And on the basis of that, you can create a complete burn down for the entire team and entire burn down, release burn down chart. So though I'm going to cover the release burn down later in my section, but for a time being, we can say that it is like this. Okay. So these are the few templates which I wanted to share with you, and this is how it is done. I'm so sorry that. Okay. So, what are the pros of the burn down chart and what are the cons of the burn down chart? So, I'm going to quickly cover these pros and cons because I'm sure by now you will understand that why they are important because they're giving us a lot of information. So, the first point is burn down chart are simple. Uh, uh, easy to follow easy to follow representation. They clearly show an agile team's achievement. Why? Because it is clearly visible on the burn down chart. Clearly show what teams still need to achieve because it is based on the remaining work remaining. So they clearly show that what need to be achieved. So let the team, if they are on target with the deadline, alert the team to potential problems on the bottleneck. Uh, um, uh, bottleneck situation quickly. Alert the team to potential problems of the bottleneck situation quickly. Like we have seen, there are so many charts, and on the basis of charts, you can see or visualize that what is happening with the team. It show plateauing of a project, why it is delaying, why it is getting isolated, what is the reason the scope creep. So you can go and identify few of the things on the basis of the chart, and team can see whether they need to focus their effort to get back on the track and motivate the team and show the team where they have succeeded and work they still need to do. So these are the few of the pros, and uh, there are cons as well, that there are certain limitations of the burn down chart, that they only show the part of the total picture. One, they do not show what tasks are still in progress. The work in progress are not visible in this chart, and they do not show how close the team is to completing their work. So it shows the remaining work, but because it does not show the impediment team is following within the sprint. So when that is happening, we are not able to say that the next day when team is having certain amount of work that is in remaining, whether they would be able to complete it or not. And they can lead to exaggerated expectation because these chart Teams that run aggressive project based on the unrealistic and over-inflated time frame can easily disgruntled or lose their motivation when the project does not run smoothly, and the team can also lose morale if they feel they are being micromanaged. So any information that is not covered in the burnout chart should be addressed in the Scrum meeting, so that the team has a clear picture of how the picture is. And the common error while creating common error that create misleading information in the burn down chart. So the first one is that they are limiting the chart only show the part of the total picture. They do not show what tasks are still in progress. Probably there is some issue in the things. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what are the common error that create misleading information in the burn down chart? Let's see some of the so one is the common error. So multiple stories with a common function. So there are some projects where teams have multiple stories, but only one generic function. So burn down chart can be misleading in these circumstances because adding extra tasks will give the wrong information, wrong number of the total hours. So tracking the progress with incorrect time is also misleading. So the I can say that there are too big or too detailed tasks. So what is happening here is that if there are too many tasks created in a project, it becomes too difficult for the team to accurately track them, and the task should be small enough that they can be completed within 12 hours or 6 hours. I would prefer to have only 6 hours of task in a day for a team member. So big tasks cannot be assessed and properly during a daily time frame, and team cannot assess how much work is remaining for them. So sometimes this create problem if the tasks are too big. So effort remaining and effort spent are misunderstood. So effort remaining or effort spent are misunderstood. So there is one of the most common error that is made by the team. To avoid making this error, team should re-estimate their task at the end of each day and update how much time is needed to complete the task. And and the last one, that is the fourth one, is the lack of discipline in updating the chart. If that is the happen, then this is a major problem, because Scrum Master in this case need to work with the team to get the chart done, because these are the information radiator, and if we are not preparing the chart in the right manner, they definitely going to create some kind of wrong information to the team or to the stakeholder or all the person who are working together. So these are the this is the information of this is regarding information regarding the burn down chart. And if you are a product owner, you can go and see to the Scrum area where these charts are pasted on the wall near the daily stand-up meeting, near the area where the daily stand-up meeting is happening, and the Scrum board is there. And for Scrum Master, this is the right indication for him or her to understand that whether the team is going in a right manner or not, or in a right, the team is making a right progress or not. And similarly, it for the development team to see that how much progress they are making on a daily basis, and is there any issue that are coming up by looking at those burned down charts. The definition of burned on chart. So burned on chart is the tool used to track how much work has been completed and show the total amount of work for the project or an iteration. And this chart is upload again the three parameter, which is scope, expected progress, and the actual progress. So what is the new thing that has been added into the burn down chart? One thing is that the scope, because scope tell us that how much work team have taken at a particular interval of time. So it tracks the progress toward the project completion, and also in the simplest form, burn up chart. There are two line of chart that we said, that a total work line and a work completed. So and a burn up chart clearly shows both completed work and the project scope. The project will be completed when the line meets. So if we draw the uh, burned on chart, let's see how it looks like so that we can understand other things in accord with how burned on chart are being prepared. So one way of uh, drawing the burned on chart is, so this is work and story points. They suppose this is around 40, and this is the days. So maybe 01, 01, 01, 02, 01. Right. So what is doing is, in if we see in a burn down chart, what was happening is that this is the idle line, and what we are doing is we are tracking the work, that how this work is being completed in terms of story point or in terms of hours. So you can use the figure. So on the basis of that, how what kind of chart it is, we can draw the we can know the state of the team, how they are working. And similarly, we are going to draw the burn up chart, and we will see what is the difference that comes when we draw a burn up chart. Okay, so now what is happening is, they suppose how much work is completed, that what we are going to draw from this chart. So this line will show how much work have been completed. Like the burn down chart shows that how much work is remaining. Burn up chart is telling that how much work has been uh, done. So at a particular interval of time, what is the amount of work has been done can be identified, right? So but along with that, the important thing is here that we have also added the scope. Say suppose 40 story point of the work has been taken. So if the 40 story point of work has been taken, then it should work in this manner. And somewhere this line will reach to this line and this match, and which will define that on what time the project is going to be completed. Sorry. so this is going to define the project completion date. But how it is going to help us to understand the other thing that we will see when we move down. But the important factor here is that if there is any scope creep that will happen, say suppose amount of work is added, so now the normal line will come to this, and let's draw in a different color. So if there is addition of the work, is suppose 5 story point, so this work is added, and similarly this line will go up like X. And now in order to complete this work, this line has to fresh this way, and we can come to know that at this point of time the work is going to complete. Now change of date will happen here. So this is how we can track the sprint burn up chart, or maybe release burn up chart in this manner. So that is the way the sprint burn up chart can be drawn. Apart from this, um, so if you regularly checking the progress of the chart, such as burn down or burn up chart, it is an important part of the Agile, Scrum, or otherwise any other methodology that we are using, because these charts can allow you to instantly identify certain types of problem, such as scope creep or a deviation from the planned project path, and these problems can then be discussed, and corrective action can be taken at the early stage rather than when it is too late. The hallmark of an effective project manager or a scrum master is that sharing this chart with the customer can also build a confidence, and trust can be built in both your management and the progress of the project as a whole. So burn-up chart are particularly common used that is the reason we are using it in Agile and Scrum software development methodology. And if you say what is the major benefit of using the burn up chart is that it is the inclusion of the this scope line that we have discussed, because it makes us very clear that why if there's any change in these lines somewhere like this burn up chart, this will show that there is an increase in the project scope. So these indication of the progress of the project as such, and the scope creep, it gives a better visibility than the burn down chart. And the scope line allows you as a scrum master to easily spot where work is being added with the effect of a completion date. So whether this work is being added by the client or the team, it is an important signal that the completion date may need to be moved in response to the um, increase in the scope. And the scope line also tracks where work is being removed to meet the fixed deadline. And again, this is important to know, as it may impact the quality or the functionality of the project, and is something that needs to be clearly discussed with the client and the team. So although a typical burner chart has only two lines, other lines are sometimes included. So you can also say that there is another line which is actual, or so there might be one actual line which defines that this should be the actual progress of the project. Oh, sorry, actual progress of the project based on the initial estimate. So it depends upon you how many line you want to add to understand the typical understanding of the project, that how this project is going um, in a better manner. And lastly, several burn-up chart can be superimposed on the top of one another, and this is typically done for multiple stages project, such as the release version or the development sprint in a project in the software project. The scope line are cumulatively stacked, and vessel the completed line is either combined for all the releases or only for the next release and the previous releases. So it can be clubbed with other program, but it is suggested that if it becoming more complicated, then it is better to use CFD, which we will read somewhere in the Kanban process, that is the cumulative flow diagram. And the next question is that why to use the burn-up chart now? So like we discussed, it clearly shows the completed work completed and the project scope, and it is an effective tool for communicating the project and the stakeholder how the extra feature requested they are asking are the extra feature which the customer is asking will going to impact the overall project deadline, or at the same time reassuring them that the good progress is being made. So in a project where client are adding a lot of work at the mid project, burn down chart will not be able to give the accurate reflection of the project team output and could lead to performance questions from the client. But the burn up chart can quickly make client reevaluate whether they really need that extra bell or a whistle. Um, and unfortunately, burn up chart are slightly more complex to interpret than the burn down chart, and so will often require some sort of explanation to the people who are not familiar with them. However, because of the extra information represented in the burn up chart, the explanation is usually more than worth the time, and with the opposite exception of the large group situation. So, there are two ways by which you can draw the uh, burn-up chart like I have drawn, and based on the manual calculation, you can also use Excel chart, which we will discuss in the next slide. And you can also use the impact um, uh, tools which are generally comes in the market to prepare the burn-on and burn-up chart, right? So what I'm going to do now is try to understand the difference again with the help of these few diagrams, that how these diagrams are indicating um, some of the process. Okay, and okay, so what is happening here is, if we see a simple burn down chart, if I say burn up chart, sorry, burn down chart, so simple burn down chart will tell me that how the work is being progressed, right? And it's also tell me that there is something has happened here. So in some basic burner chart, you can have an old idea here, and it is a simple graph showing amount of work on a vertical and a horizontal timeline on a horizontal axis. At the time progress, we keep track how much work is still not done, and the goal is to hit the ground. That is how soon we can hit the ground here. So the steepness of the curve can help us to approximate when it's going to happen, or in other words, when we are going to done with the whole work. And when we think about quantifying work, it should be anything we use anyway, a story point, weighted t-shirt size, or the simple number of tasks that you have done. But in a burn up chart, what is going to happen is that you are going to use one, and another one is the scope. So these are two lines that you are going to use, which are going to help the track the overall progress of the project, right? So let's try to understand the difference of the real difference of increase in the scope. So so um, let's try to understand that. So this is again a burn down chart, and uh, if we see here, we see something have changed here in this burn down chart. And what is it change? It clearly says that there is some otherwise it will come down, but this has come up, which means there's some work has been added, right? And unfortunately, if you see here, if the time of addition and work completion is same, so it will show the line in this manner, rather than in this way. So what will happen here? We will say that there is some amount of work has been added and some amount of work has been completed, which is not giving the right picture. Unfortunately, if you go to the third line and if we try to understand what is happening here, if the amount of work added is um, added work is less than the completion work on that particular day, so it will come down, but we will never come to know that there is some addition of work has been done here, right? But if you see all the three graphs and then plot this burn up chart, you will clearly see here, because this is the amount of work completed at a particular interval of time, but this shows that there is some amount of work that has been added, which means scope creeped here. But if you see if there is a small amount of work that has been completed or added, there is a small indication that something has happened here with respect to the scope. So which means that added work and completed work is also there, but this the same is not visible in these two burn down chart. So it is always the which clearly indicate the difference, that how burn up chart are better ways to plot the progress of the project than the burn down chart, because the burn up chart have the ability to show the scope creep. So this is how the major difference that comes in the burn up and burn up chart, and it is always recommended to use burn up chart in that manner. So if we see come here, and I have taken this from one of the um, E for Excel organization, which have given a template of these burn up chart. And if you clear the old data here, yes, and say suppose you say 01 slash, so if you go here, there is nothing in these chart, and if say you are tracking the progress of the project and you say 0101 slash 2017, um, okay, so then divided between okay, it is valid. And say suppose the initial scope is 30 story point, and there is 5 story point that has been completed, right? And if you go here again 30 story point, but if you complete 2, and if you go here, right? So that's suppose the scope of the project is increased here, and then again scope of project is decreased here. Here let's suppose we are adding 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so say 5 to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 32. So let's say 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, and 1 here. So because we need to complete the 40 or 30 story point here, so there are some validation that has been kept here. So now if you come here, it will plot the graphs for you. And if we try to understand these graphs, we can clearly see here that what is happening, that this is the actual completion, it is in the green, and the red one is the green is the idle burn, scope completed and scope plan. You can say when we have kept here 30 to 40 in this next sheet, it shows that the work has been increased. Similarly, in all the chart which are defined in the different manner. So which is showing the scope creep, and this is also showing here that from the idle situation there is some increase in the work here, which also shows here, right? So this is how burndown chart is prepared. So if you want to see these CFDs, which we will discuss in detail in the some subsequent session. But CFD is also a good mean to show the how much work that has been idle, which is the idle burn up, and scope completed and scope planned. So you can see here as well that there is some scope that has been increased in this section. And because the scope has been increased, there is increase in the scope here as well. So these are the few ways of identifying the burn down and burn up chart. And I have also provided a sample for the burn down as well, but it is good to use these samples where burn up chart can be used. So it is a better way of understanding the project progress. So if we try to differentiate between the um, burn up and the burn down chart, we can categorize on the basis of few of the differences. So one is the simplicity versus information. So burn down chart are very simple, and a single line racing towards zero as the project is completed, and anyone can understand this chart, and it does not need an explanation. However, it can hide important information. For example, the example of effect of the scope change. And scope change is when work is added to or removed from the project. So we all are familiar with the scope change. The client suddenly demand extra features and the work is removed from the project to meet the deadline. And sorry, the burn down chart does not show this information as clearly as the burn up chart. So the burn up tracks completed work and total work with two separate lines, unlike the burn down chart, which combines them into a single line. And the total work line communicate important information, and is the project not yet completed because work is slow to be done or too much new work has been added. So that give a different distinction. So you can choose whether you want a simple burn down chart or you want a chart which give you more information, that is the burn up chart. So second difference to come is the presenting project progress on a regular basis. So if you are presenting project progress to the same audience on a regular basis, for example, weekly customer progress meeting, or you are probably better off with a burn up, it will allow you to easily show them you are making progress, and even if they are having added some extra work to it, or the testing has revealed some problem that are adding the work to the project. So this is clearly help us to understand what is on a regular basis we can show the progress of the project. Third one is the convincing customer to stabilize the project scope. And scope creep is the enemy of every software project. And in the face of scope creep, burn down charts start to look like little progress is being made. However, a burn up clearly make the scope creep problem visible to the customer. And this may even help you to convince them to stop requesting changes and allow the project to complete. Because when you draw the scope creep line and the amount of work um, that has been added to the project, it will clearly show to the customers that how much work they are adding every time there is a sprint demo or the sprint review. So it is okay to either freeze the requirement at the start of the sprint, or uh, or allow the project to complete. And next one is the fixed scope project, because there is a certain timeline that are limited circumstances in which a project may have a well-defined fixed scope. So if a project is guaranteed to have a fixed scope, the burn up chart communicates no more information than the burn down chart. So the simplicity of the burn down chart is preferable in that case. So if there is a fixed scope project, it is better to use the burn down chart. So now, because you are having a differentiation between the burn down and a burn up chart, depending upon your project complexity, depending upon your project, what kind of project you are working upon, you can choose which kind of chart you can use. Either it is the burn down chart or it is the burn up chart, and that clearly going to define the progress of the team or the project. So if you are a project manager, then it can be used uh, to track the progress and to see how team is going into the project. If you are a scrum master, it give you an indication that how your team is performing. Is there any scope that is being added between the sprint or not? It is communicated to all the stakeholder or not? Or if you are a product owner, you will understand that how much work you are being you as a product owner adding into the project. And if such things happen, then the project completion date is going to be increased or going to be somewhere in the future. So these tools which are burned up and burned on chart are very useful when you are using in your project. And I prefer to have it in the scrum area or on the board where team is daily having a stand-up meeting, so that it is always remain in front of them and they can understand how their project is progressing. Thank you.